Why Brent Spiner's Star Trek villain roles are more fun than Data since his introduction as LT. Commander Data in Star Trek: The Next Generation, Brent Spiner has been one of the franchise's strongest actors, and this becomes even more apparent when he portrays villains. Data quickly became one of TNG's most beloved characters, thanks in large part to Brent Spiner's nuanced performance. Throughout his Star Trek journey, Data wanted nothing more than to be human, and Spiner always did an excellent job of hinting at Data's humanity, even when the android was at his most robotic. Still, portraying Data required a subtle form of acting that did not often allow Spiner to truly let loose in the role. While there were a few instances when Data was possessed or taken over by another entity, Data's evil twin brother Lore and the various Soong family members allowed Brent Spiner to show his full range as an actor. Spiner proved that he could chew scenery with the best of them, as Lore and most of the Soongs had big personalities that allowed the actor to have fun. Introduced in Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 1, Episode 13, Data Lore. Lore was created before Data and soon grew unstable and resentful of humans. Dr. Noonien Soong then created Data, who became the cyberneticist's greatest creation. Data was Soong's most successful android, and Lore had all the negative traits Data lacked. With his arrogance and duplicitous nature, Lore allowed Brent Spiner to portray a twisted version of Data. Lore was still an android, but whereas Data had a subtle form of humanity, there was nothing subtle about Lore. It's clear from Brent Spiner's first scenes as Lore that he is very different from his brother. Even when Lore pretends to get along with the Enterprise D crew, it's obvious there is something different about him. After his initial appearance, Lore continues to be a sneering villain, manipulating Data, attacking his creator, and eventually working with the Borg. Spiner always makes it clear which android he's portraying even in the scenes when Lore pretends to be Data, and it's especially fun when the two play off of one another. In addition to Data and Lore, Brent Spiner has portrayed several members of the Soong family. In TNG Season 4, Episode 3, Brothers, Spiner was nearly unrecognizable as Dr. Noonien Soong, Data and Lore's creator. But Noonien was mild compared to his Soong ancestors and descendants. In Star Trek Enterprise, Aris Soong stole a group of augment embryos and raised them as children despite the Federation's ban on eugenics. Two different Soongs popped up on Star Trek Picard in the late 24th century of Seasons 1 and 3, as well as in the 21st century of Season 2. When Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, and his friends traveled back in time to 2024 in Picard Season 2, they encountered Adam Soong. Adam was a geneticist who created a series of clones and cared more about his own image and legacy than anything or anyone else. Although Alton Soong initially sided with his androids in Picard Season 1, he later created an advanced golem body that combined the personalities of Data, Lore, B4, and Data's daughter Lau, Holly Todd. Data's personality eventually became the dominant one, bringing the android as close to humanity as he could hope to be. All of these different characters not only showed Brent Spiner's impressive range as an actor, but also gave him the chance to cut loose more than he ever did with Data on Star Trek: The Next Generation. Brent Spiner is widely recognized for his portrayal of the beloved android Data in the Star Trek franchise, a role that defined much of his career. Data, the curious, emotionless android seeking to understand humanity, became one of the most iconic characters in Star Trek: The Next Generation (TNG). However, Spiner's versatility as an actor shines just as brightly, if not more so, when he steps out of Data's shoes and embraces the darker, more flamboyant roles of villains within the Star Trek universe. Spiner's villainous roles, particularly Lore, Data's evil brother, and Dr. Aris Soong, an ancestor of Data's creator, provide a more exhilarating and unpredictable experience for both the actor and the audience. These roles highlight why Brent Spiner's forays into villainy are often more fun and engaging than his stoic portrayal of Data. A departure from restraint. Data's character, though compelling and emotionally resonant, is defined by a strict emotional restraint. As an android without emotions, at least for much of the series, Spiner had to limit his expressions, gestures, and voice inflections to create the sense of an artificial being. While this approach was masterful in its own right, it didn't allow for the wide emotional or behavioral range that an actor typically enjoys. Data's constant quest to understand emotions and human behavior often made him a cerebral character, focusing on intellect and logic over passion or chaos. In contrast, Spiner's villain roles, particularly that of Lore, are thrilling precisely because they are unshackled by the limitations of emotional restraint. Lore, Data's malevolent twin, possesses all of Data's capabilities, but with the full range of human emotions, primarily negative ones. He is manipulative, egotistical, and often revels in the chaos he causes. Playing Lore allowed Spiner to explore a wider spectrum of emotions, from gleeful malevolence to deep-seated anger. This freedom to emote, manipulate, and wreak havoc clearly brought out Spiner's more exuberant and dynamic side as an actor. A taste for chaos lore is a fascinating foil to Data, embodying the chaotic potential of artificial intelligence without moral or ethical constraints. He's cunning, self-serving, and driven by a superiority complex, viewing himself as a more advanced and evolved version of Data. This role allowed Spiner to fully immerse himself in a character who thrives on disorder and manipulation. Lore's unpredictability made him a joy to watch because he kept both the audience and other characters on edge. Where Data would strive to solve problems through reason and ethics, Lore delighted in exploiting weaknesses and sowing discord. This taste for chaos makes Lore an inherently more dynamic and arguably more enjoyable character than Data. While Data's calm, analytical demeanor offered viewers a sense of stability, Lore's volatile nature injected a sense of danger and excitement into the episodes he appeared in. The fun of watching Lore stems from the fact that as a villain, he can do things Data would never even contemplate, giving Spiner the opportunity to push boundaries in terms of dialogue, behavior, and emotional expression. The joy of moral ambiguity, another villainous role that stands out in Spiner's Star Trek repertoire, is Dr. Aris Soong, a geneticist and ancestor of Data's creator, Dr. Noonien Soong. While not as overtly malicious as Lore, Aris Soong is a morally ambiguous character, driven by a desire to push the boundaries of human evolution through genetic engineering. He defies the ethical limitations imposed by Starfleet and the Federation, believing in the superiority of his vision of humanity. This role gave Spiner a more nuanced villain to play, one whose motivations were intellectually grounded yet ethically questionable. What makes Dr. Soong such a fun character is that he operates in a gray area, forcing the audience to grapple with difficult ethical questions. Unlike the clear-cut villainy of Lore, Soong's character represents the potential dangers of unchecked ambition and scientific experimentation. Spiner's portrayal of Soong combines arrogance with a certain charm, making the character simultaneously likable and repulsive. This complexity made Soong one of the more thought-provoking antagonists in Star Trek, and it allowed Spiner to show off his ability to play characters who operate outside the traditional hero-villain binary. Breaking free from typecasting, one of the most appealing aspects of Spiner's villainous roles is that they allowed him to break free from the typecasting that inevitably came with playing Data. As an actor, Spiner has expressed that while he loves the character of Data, the role could be limiting due to the strict parameters of an emotionless android. Venturing into darker, more unpredictable characters like Lore and Dr. Soong allowed Spiner to stretch his acting muscles in ways that Data never could. Villains often have the most fun in any given story because they operate outside the moral and legal frameworks that bind the heroes. They get to bend the rules, manipulate events, and deliver dramatic monologues. For Spiner, playing characters